Hi guys, and welcome to my review of the KINERA Freya. This is the Mark II version, a sequel to the original, which I never heard, so I really won't be able to tell or to say too much about it. All I do know is that I've actually seen some graphs of the original, and compared with the graphs of the current model, the difference is significant. So I can only assume that the sound will also be quite different, as is the case with KINERA. And just before I carry on with the actual review, they name their models after Norse mythology, and in this case Freya is the goddess of love, beauty, war. She was born into a tribe known as the Vanir tribe, and her main skill was magic. At one point she was bestowed, or she was called upon by Odin to join Thor in the war against the giants, and in those battles against the giants, and well, between the gods and the giants, really, she emerged quite victorious, and due to her performance, or to her victorious achievements during those battles, Odin then personally bestowed upon her a title, which was the title of the goddess of war, and also rewarded her with a palace, which she was then to use as not only her place of being, of course, of living, but of course for her to also train other selected warriors when Odin did require their services and her service as well. Anyway, that's enough of that, let's say, mythology and kind of background story associated with all of the KINERA IEMs. What's important now is, what is the Freya? The Freya is a 1+3 hybrid IEM. It has 3 Knowles drivers and a 7mm dynamic driver, all in a resin shell, which is transparent and has a hand-painted faceplate, which is usually the case. And as we all know, KINERA never ceases to amaze, or never ceases to leave no stone unturned when it comes to actually the looks of an IIM. The box, as you can see, is the usual shape, that hexagonal shape that that KINERA it's gotten us used to it. You open it up, brings some paperwork. Over here it brings the story, like I just told you, but in more detail, and then some characteristics and graphs and how to wear it and so on and so forth. It brings all of that in there, and then the rest of the box. Over here comes the carrying case, which I'll show to you in a second. It brings these final ear tips. I believe these are 5 sets here, and then it brings another 6 of the KB 07 tips. I tried not only the final ears in the medium size, but also the large KB 07s to see what was the performance, and in either case performance was very good. Ultimately I actually left the final ears on just because I was able to fit it a little bit deeper, and I just preferred it that way. It wasn't that the sound was really that different, although when I graphically show you, you will see there are differences, and I suppose some of us will pick it up more than others. I mean, I did pick up a slight difference, but it was nothing that really made a big issue. It's the cable used in the Freya is a modular cable. This is the 3.5mm termination. I've got the 4.4 on. It's got a cleaning tool, and obviously then the IEMs came over there. Anyway, let me just put this aside and show you then the carrying case first, which is very nice, puck style, but very nice. It's just classy. It's very, very classy, very much what we are used to from KINERA, like I said before. And then the IEMs themselves. The cable, nice cable. No tangling. It seems to be some sort of a graphene cable. I can't really confirm that, but it seems to be, as I said, 4.4 termination. And then on the opposite end we have the actual shells, obviously, of course, also with a nice termination. And the shells, like I said, nicely painted faceplate. Nothing. I mean, we've seen more ostentatious IEMs from them, but this one is nice. It's clean. It's very subtle. You can see the BAs and the driver inside, and all the ducts and everything. So it just looks very, very classy, very nice. Okay, Fit is perfect, no issues with the fit. The light IMs are not going to fatigue they're not going to fatigue you in terms of the usage or anything of the sort. Just an overall very competent in terms of its physical attributes. I mean, it's there's really nothing I can falter here. It fits nicely in my ears. It holds on properly. It's got a good angle, as you can see, of the actual nozzle with relation to the shell. So it goes nice and deep, especially with the final ears. That's it. I mean, top marks there. Anyway, what do I have here, or what have I selected to compare here with the Freya? Well, first of all, the Freya, this particular unit, I got it from HIFIGO. It's $250. So obviously, at $250, we have a lot of very, very good other IEMs. And I wasn't going to bring them all out, otherwise, otherwise my reviews are always endless, and they never, they just go on and on and on. And now I'm going to try and make an effort from now on to try and make things a little bit more more condensed, a little bit shorter, but nevertheless, I'm not going to stop doing these comparisons, because I know you guys like the fact that I do these comparisons. What have I brought out here to compare with the Freya? Like I said, all of them, first of all, are 1+3s. That was the thing, and that was one of the things that I've always tried to do, is always compare 1+4s with 1+4s, 1+2s, 1+2s. As of late, I've kind of mixed and matched a little bit, because I've been getting those requests, and I can do that if you guys want with regards to the Freya, but I'm gonna just compare it with 1+3s. I've got here the Tungsten Mirai Sands, $319, so a little bit more expensive even. There's another one which I was going to include, which is the new PENON Dome, but I still haven't listened to it enough, and I thought it also didn't really make sense, because that's already a lot more expensive. That's almost $350, $349 if memory serves me right. Anyway, I've got here the Tungsten Mirai Sands, also 1+3. It's got, there we go. It's got the tuning switches. I've got in the bass enhancement setting, which is the one that I personally like the best. The bass on the Sands, if that switch isn't on, is a little bit underwhelming when you compare it to the mids and the highs that it can do. It's got a Sonian for the mid range, and I believe Knowles for the highs. Next to that, I've got you could call it a brother of the Freya, which is the Queen of Audio QOA Aviation, also 1+3, which I reviewed recently. The biggest difference here is it uses an 8mm dynamic driver as opposed to a 7mm. By the way, the Mirai uses a 10mm. The price of the Aviation is $200, so $319, $200, $250. Over here on this side, I've got an IM that I've really talked about, and I still like very much, and that's why I use it. And I think it's always kind of goes very much under the radar, which is the AudioSense AQ4. I still think it's the best hybrid that they've made up to now. $179. Sometimes you can get it cheaper. You can get it as low as $119. So this makes it kind of the value king. Using a 10mm driver as well. Phenomenal performance out of this IEM, especially in terms of the bass. And I think it's the bass, or the fact that people really don't understand that bass can be plentiful but well done, that sometimes, or that maybe hasn't enabled it to have the same success, as people kind of think it's too bass heavy. And then finally, the Chopin, which is kind of like the reference right now in terms of hybrids, at around $200. Absolute beast of an IM. I mean, that's the reality. It's a phenomenal IM in terms of its sound. Phenomenal. What is the Freya then about in terms of, or with regards to its sound? What does it sound like? Well, the Freya comes across as kind of a bright, warm IM in terms of its signature. Graphically, when you look at it, you might think it's actually a V, because it's got prominent bass and then a prominent mids, upper mids and treble, but it's more of a bright, warm kind of feeling that you get out of the sound. Mustn't forget that it's a 7mm driver, so obviously, although it will graph very similar to some of the other IEMs that I've selected here, especially the ones with the bigger dynamic drivers, when you actually hear it, you notice that there's a difference in terms of displacement of area of the diaphragm. So yes, however, having said what I just did say, the fact, and this is something which is very common with KINERA, and obviously they're not the only ones that are being able to extract large quantities of bass out of small drivers. There are, I mean, Sennheiser is known for it. But the truth is, KINERA always has a tendency of using relatively smaller drivers. 7 and 8mm are usually what they prefer, and they always extract a lot of bass from these small drivers. It's actually quite surprising the amount of bass they can get. I mean, another one that comes to mind is the Phoenix Call as well. 7mm dynamic driver, and it's got loads of bass, loads and loads of bass. So it's a brightish, warm signature, very nicely executed bass. The bass here, compared to the bass on the Queen of Audio, is very similar. The only difference that I kind of get and feel is that the bass here, because of the extra energy that it's got up top, just sounds a little bit more snappier. But bass is great. It doesn't bleed in any significant manner into the mids or the treble. Doesn't smother the mids. Mids come across absolutely clean and spotless. Male, female vocals, very nice. Female vocals perhaps can on occasions be just a little bit over enthusiastic, but nothing that's by any means considered that you can consider aggressive or harsh. Just a little bit over enthusiastic, but nice. And then very nicely, a very well executed treble. The thing that I was very happy with regards to the upper mids and treble on the Freya was it maintains its composure even when I push the volume. So even when I start pushing the volume, they can continue being as clean, as sparkly, as detailed, and they don't kind of lose their stand. They don't start going all over the place or want to become sibilant or shout or anything. Obviously there are songs which are difficult songs, and of course it's not only the Freya, but there's only one IEM here two really, that I can say really made or did justice to that song in terms of not letting that sax kind of kill you, which is La Belle Dame Sans Remorse from Chris Botti at the minute 120 to 135 more or less. I mean, that sax, it can get you, and I mean, be it the Mirai, be it the Queen of Audio, be it the Freya 2, it gets a little bit hard there. The Chopin and the AQ4 are the ones that actually do it with the required intensity, but they maintain their composure, and it doesn't reach that point of you saying, okay, I think I'm going to lower the volume now. No. So it does have its limitations as well. But overall, the whole sound spectrum is very nicely executed. There's really nothing I can point as a negative aspect to it, because it sounds just very clean, very detailed. That's the thing that automatically captivates you, is how clean the sound is, but also equally how engaging and fun. So it's not an overly clinical presentation where the fun factor, where the musicality has been lost. No, none of that. In terms of its technicality, soundstage, it's nice and wide, got good height. Depth perhaps is where it's lacking, but it's got nice width and nice height. Imaging is spot on, very good imaging. Even in the more complex songs, it never really struggled. It positions things very well. To that effect, I would say that this probably would be a good gaming IEM. But like I said, I don't usually game, but if gaming, you should have an IEM which is capable of good imaging. So this will definitely do the work there. Detailed resolution, I mean, micro and macro details are perfectly. You have all the last twinklies and sparklies that you need. Resolution as well, very good. Timbre and tonality, it's nice, although it's a brighter sounding timbre and tonality. It can sometimes give instruments just a little bit of enthusiasm, a little bit more extra than what is really the truth. Does it bug me? No, it doesn't bug me, because it's doing it in a very nice manner. It's doing it. I can't really explain it. There are IEMs that the timbre and tonality is just off. Things just don't sound right. And then there are those IEMs which are colored in the way that their timbre and the tonality comes across, either because they are overly warm or because they are overly more bright, more open. But the way they do things, it's so well executed that it never is an issue. It never becomes something that you say, I don't like the way this is being done. No, timbre and tonality, it's perfect. I would say that the standout technicality here is definitely the imaging and the detail retrieval. The imaging and the detail retrieval are the best, and then the timbre and the tonality after that. And that basically covers it. Compared then here with these IMs that I have selected. Compared to the Tensio Mirai, the biggest difference that you will notice with the Tensio Mirai is that, yes, the Tensio Mirai does have a little bit more fullness in the bass. It's not huge in terms of the quality of the bass, no, but it's the quantity that you can actually get out of here as composed to there. However, the funny thing is, when you push the volume here, it seems to not scale in a manner which is as balanced as on the Freya. So the Freya seems to be just a little bit more balanced out, okay? And, when you get to this point or this level of IMs, like I was saying earlier, you don't expect there to be monumental differences, especially when we are talking about such high quality products from such reputable brands. So the differences that will be there will be differences that reside more. Is it more skewed towards the mid, the signature? Is it more skewed towards the bass? So is it a warmer sounding IM, a brighter sounding IM? Is it more detailed? Is it more musical? And then, of course, things like, does it scale well? Does it maintain its composure as you push the volume? It's those things that start coming into play, and that will be ultimately the deciding factor. If it's more skewed to the mids or more skewed to the bass, that can't really be the deciding factor of determining which is the best or which is the worst, because it all depends then on what you prefer. But when it comes to its scaling and as well, or in keeping its composure, then yes, then that for me will be a deciding factor. Because if I have two IMs which both have, let's say, a brightish signature, but the one scales better and maintains its composure better than the other, then that will be for me the obvious choice. So I think in terms of its scaling here, it doesn't do it as well as on the Freya. The differences are not huge, mind you, but the Freya just does it just a little bit better. And that, coupled to the fact that, yes, we are talking about a $70 price difference, I would say that the Freya does have enough to justify it being a smarter choice over the Tensio Mirai, the Sands. Also, the Sands does have, especially with those tuning switches, they are there for a reason, obviously, but the tuning switches, and the reason why I've only basically used the first one, which is emphasizing the bass, is it already has a lot of upper mids and treble. And putting those switches, I think, unless you are really a treble head, I think it's just going to skew more that imbalance that exists, and not going to work towards it, but against it, okay? So that's that one out of the way. Compared to its brother, let's put it that way, or sister, the Queen of Audio Aviation, the bass is basically the same, so to a certain extent the mids as well about the same. It's above 3K that you start seeing the differences with that. It's just that got that little extra more detail, okay, just that little extra openness in the sound. So I would say that here this has been tuned to be more mid, and bass is the prominent or the focal points, with treble being then secondary, while here the emphasis has been mids and highs, with bass then being the second. However, the curious thing is here, the highs here do not follow or do not keep up with the bass and the mids as well as what the bass here keeps up with the mids and the highs. It's actually curious. Also, for some reason which I just cannot understand, this doesn't seem to keep its composure when you push the volume. So it's not that it doesn't seem to be capable of scaling as well as that. Again, let me repeat, the differences are minor. So the choice here, okay, one is $200, one is $250. They both are very well equipped in terms of what they bring with the accessories. Fantastic, beautiful shell, modular cable. The price, yes, here will be a determining factor in the decision, and also the other determining factor here will be, do you prefer a warmer sound or a brighter sound? That I think is ultimately the decider here, okay? Compared to the AQ4, if you are able to, let's say, let's say you, for the sake of this comparison, you EQ the bass just slightly down so that the bass doesn't seem to be so overpowering compared to the mids and the highs. The AQ4 is absolutely fantastic. Period. The mids, upper mids and treble on the AQ4 have been done very well. And the bass, yes, it's big, it's bold, it's fantastic. I love it. It's, in terms of musicality, it's a more musical IEM than this, because it's got that ability to give EDM and certain hip hop, certain more dynamic genres that fun factor. So if that is something that you're wanting, which is an IEM which is going to really play well, those sort of genres, definitely the AQ4 is the choice. If, however, you are wanting to go more for jazz, classical, vocal stuff, then this is the choice here. So ultimately, the deciding factor here will be twofold. First of all, the price, because that's obviously $170. This is $250, so we're talking about an $80 price difference. Yes, this is better accessorized, no doubt. But then it's the sound that you want that will be the deciding factor. Yeah, this also scales amazing. Yes, in terms of its technical capabilities, maybe not as competent as this one, but like I said, if you are going to be one that EQs and you just lower the bass just slightly, you will be absolutely blown away by how good the AQ4 can be. Okay, the AQ4 is a very good IEM. And then finally, the Chopin. And I'm going to just say it outright, the Chopin is a better IEM. End of story. Okay, I mean, I'm not gonna oh no, because of this and that. No, the Chopin is a better IEM, and the reason why the Chopin is so good, and even in my previous comparisons that I did, it does so well, is because of the balance that is struck. Okay, as I said just earlier, some are more skewed to the bass or to the mids, some are more skewed to the mids and to the highs, so some will be warmer sounding, some will be brighter sounding, some will be more musical, some will be more clinical. The Chopin, and what binary audio was able to do it with it, was find that balance of it being musical, it's technical, it's got a perfect balance between the bass, the mids and the highs. It scales fantastic, it fits beautifully. They've really put together here a package which is very, very good in terms of the sound. In terms of the sound, honestly, and this is not me now shilling. Over the last couple of days, I've been accused of shilling, and because it becomes very frustrating when you start listening to this kind of stuff. Very frustrating, because I absolutely try my best to bring you guys always the truth as I see it, at least, but the truth in terms of what this product is capable of or not. And to then start hearing comments to the effect that, oh no, because I'm shilling this brand or that brand, it's because I'm getting paid and stuff. Well, let me tell you something. I'm getting nothing. Okay, Timmy is not paying me anything. HIFIGO is not paying me anything. The Chopin is great. End of story. The Full Performer 5 in that $200 bracket of hybrids, those two IEMs are probably the two IEMs that tick the most boxes. It's as simple as that, guys. Yes, there are many other fantastic IEMs, many other IEMs that maybe for you, when you listen to them, you might think, okay, you know what, Tony, you were right. The Performer 5 and the Chopin is really good, but hey, the KINERA just ticks one more box for me, or ticks this box better than this, than that. So, but overall, I think it's quite unanimous. The Chopin is a very, very complete IEM, and when you compare it to the aviation, there are instances, mind you, that they actually do sound quite similar. And when I show you the graphs now in a second, you'll see what I mean. There are instances where they actually do sound very similar, because this is detailed, that is detailed. This has got great technicalities, that's got great technicalities as well. The biggest differentiating factor here, honestly, is in the bass. The quality of the bass here is phenomenal. The quantity, perfect. And it just gives the whole presentation a very mature, very, very, very well rounded feel. There, the bass is amazing, especially when you consider it's a 7mm driver. You're like, oh my god, okay, 7mm driver sounding this good. It just, I don't know, a little bit extra, and that it would have been perfect. Maybe you know what? Maybe if they had done a dual driver, be bold and make it a 2+3. Maybe then it would have been perfect, and then that would have been, for example, an IM that could trade some serious blows then with the Chopin. As it stands, yes, it is giving the Chopin a run for its money. I'm not going to deny it. There are songs that it can keep up, but overall, at the end of the day, the Chopin is a better IM. Anyway, guys, I'll show you now quickly the graphs, and we'll wrap it up. Hi guys, and welcome now to the graph section for the KINERA Freya Mark II. The graph I'm showing you here is using the 07 tip in the medium size, and the one that I'm going to put up now is in the large size. So the difference that exists here is minimal. In terms of, let me just take away the large. In terms of the variation of the window of where things sit, we're talking about things sitting within a window of roughly 10 dBs of gain into the bass and about 11 into the upper mids and treble. Now, the reality is, because this is a 7mm driver, what actually comes across, at least to my ears, is a bright, warm sound and not a V shape, because this doesn't sound as prominent as you would think, okay? And when I show you now the other graphs, you'll understand. And then with the final E tip, it's this graph here, which basically everything remains the same. It just changes slightly this area here of the treble. So we have a peak, which before kind of it extended itself out and then peaked at close to 5 and then plateaued, while now it peaks at about 4 and then drops slightly, as you can see. Okay, and this graph is actually very similar to the factory graph that they actually put in the box and in the literature. Okay, I kept it in this setting because I just ended up preferring it more than with the KB07 tips. I mean, honestly, the differences were so minimal that I don't know. I just preferred it more because it actually I was able to fit it a little bit deeper. Okay. Compared then to the IMs that I selected rather. Okay, this is the Tansio Mirai, the Sands in the 100 setting. You would think, oh, okay, no, the KINERA's got more bass. No, the Tansio has more bass. However, it's this area here of the treble, the transition here, the 6-7K here. It's not up to it's not the part leading up to it. It's this area here that doesn't allow the Tansio to scale as nicely as I would like. Okay. And that's where I think the Freya kind of edges it out. Also, if you start then using the other settings that are available, the other tunings available, it becomes a little bit too intense. Trust me, it becomes really a little bit too intense because of that balance between the bass and then the mids and the highs. Okay, so that's the Tansio out of the way. Compared now here to the Queen of Audio, its brother. Okay, where is it? Actually, let me do one thing here. Sorry guys, let me take this one out. Let me take this one out so it doesn't get me confusion. So compared here to the Queen of Audio, bass is basically the same, as you can see. I mean, 8mm, 7mm. It's not. There's no real difference there, to be truthful. This is with the Queen of Audio using the 07 tip. And definitely you can see that, yes, we have a presentation here which is more skewed towards mids and bass being the focal point. So it's a little bit darker, not as detailed up top. Yes, that is true. But for some reason which I cannot understand, while the Freya, you push the volume and it scales nicely and everything keeps itself nicely balanced, or not balanced, but it keeps itself composed. And actually helps the bass clean up and become more dynamic. With the aviation, the treble becomes just a little bit. It just becomes rough, okay, and it takes away from making the bass sound more clean, more crisp. If that is something that I can maybe try and explain to you guys. Anyway, that's the Queen of Audio. That's out of the way. Now, compared to the AQ4, there we go, AQ4, mid-wise, in terms of mids, AQ4 is an absolute beast, beast. I've normalized all the graphs at 1K, by the way. And then the bass, phenomenal. I mean, the bleed that exists in the bass of the AQ4 is, people, it makes it to sound too dark and loses out on technicalities too much. No, it doesn't. Yes, the Freya is more technically capable, but ever so slightly, not a lot. It's just more in terms of that balance that is struck, that it enables those technicalities to shine than anything else. So if you were to EQ this down just ever so slightly, I would say anywhere between 50 and 80 hertz, just bring it down a few dBs, this is going to be sounding completely different. But anyway, it is what it is, and that's the AQ4. And then finally, compared to the Chopin, and as you can see, again, the Chopin has got this bass energy and bass quality that is shown by the Freya, but obviously it's got the quantity because of being a bigger driver. And if you actually look at it carefully, there's not a lot of difference in terms of how the mids are done and upper mids and the treble. It's just more of an energy level that's the differentiating factor. Ultimately, like I said earlier, it's the balance that is struck on the Chopin. Let me just take away quickly the Freya. The balance that is struck on the Chopin is phenomenal, and that's what makes it so special. And having said that, the Freya also has a little bit of that magic, because if you look carefully, the balance is also very much there. Okay, while for example you take something like the Tensio Mirai, that balance is not as well obtained. And trust me, this is without me boosting anything. If I boost something, it becomes very skewed towards the mids and the highs. The aviation, the balance, it seems to be well done, but it's more towards the bass. Okay, more towards the bass. But I prefer that than the other way around, to be honest. And then with the AQ4, there we go. Yes, the balance is more towards the bass, but it's still got more than enough energy. I mean, more than enough energy in the mids, upper mids, and treble to keep things way more engaging and musical than what you would think. So it's not a dark sounding IM by any means. The Freya just strikes a very nice balance. I mean, it just sounds really good. The area that is just a little bit boosted in the bass, let's put it that way, which is below 60 hertz, is basically the same thing that happens on the Freya when we're talking about the transition from the upper mids and treble. So it's just a little extra boost above there, which is honestly, it's not a deal breaker in my opinion. It's not, and it just makes for a very open, very clinical sound, more towards the clinical sound, but it's still got a very high degree of musicality. Anyway, guys, as always, listen to the stuff. Go out, try and listen to it. Try and see if it pleases you. Try tips. Trust me, tips are very important. Okay, try tips. Take the ones you usually use if you are able to, especially if you live somewhere in Asia where you have countless stores where you can actually go try out stuff. Don't take my word for it. I mean, I'm a nobody. Go to the stores, listen to the stuff, compare it if you can with some other goods that they have there, compare it to some of the IMs that I have here, and then make a decision. I mean, all I'm trying to do here is just point out what at least I perceive and what I listen, and then ultimately the decision has to be yours. I mean, you're the ones that are going to be spending the money, and I would like to know that you are spending the money wisely. All right, anyway guys, you take care. As always, like and subscribe. If there's any questions, please feel free to ask, and forgive my rant earlier on. Thank you. Bye bye.